2nd of November, 8:56 a.m. The Old Bailey, Defendant's Ante-Chamber. There's that old familiar feeling again. The crushing pressure of this historic courthouse. Actually, no, it's a little different today. There is an even more menacing tension in the air. There is a menacing tension in the air here today, isn't there? I suppose... Yes, I think so. It can only be the result of the menacing appearance of the defendant.
A little more courtesy, if you please.
Oh my, I do apologize.
However, you're certainly not mistaken, as this child is far from ordinary.
What do you mean?
I'm not privy to the details, however. I understand that no jury has been selected.
A trial without a jury? Well, that's just like the trial of the professor 10 years ago. A closed court. Good morning, my dear fellows. Mr. Sholmes. Have you made note of my hair, Mr. Naruhodo? An outright victory for science, you must agree. To be perfectly honest, so much happened yesterday that, well, I completely forgot about your little hair problem. Ha! What to one man is a little hair problem is to another a day of drinking dubious potion after dubious potion. You have no idea how my stomach ails me this morning. Oh dear, how awful for you. I'm afraid you only have yourself to blame, Mr. Sholmes. And good morning to you, Mr. Reaper. I am delighted to see you looking so full of vim.
And you. I see London's celebrated great detective is as active as ever.
Oh, you exaggerate, my dear fellow. Compared to my paltry engagement with a few trivial cases, the Reaper's overbearing presence is a far greater deterrent to the black roots of crime in our capital. And whilst I may not agree with your methods, there is at least one point on which I would readily commend you.
What an honor. And that would be...
Your eye for a good lawyer, sir. Mr. Sholmes. After all, behind this lawyer there is a very great mind. My own.
What are you trying to say?
I wish only to say that you should be prepared for quite a trial, Mr. Reaper. Sorry to barge in. Gina! What's that on her arm? It's a mourning band, I suppose? Father, shouldn't you be at the symposium?
It's been postponed, so I have some free time. I decided to come along with the police inspector to see our country's up-and-coming student in action. I shall be very interested to see the fruits of your studies over the past year.
Well, it's an honor to have you here. Let's hope there are some fruits to see. Otto? Oh, yes, Gina? Why'd you agree to this, eh? Why'd you take him on? This Reaper bloke. Everyone says he was him what killed the boss. I'm sorry, Gina, but I just don't believe that. Well, if it weren't him, who was it? I don't know. Yet. Oh, I don't care who calls him what. The Reaper's just a name. He's just a person at the end of the day. And if it turns out it was him what killed the boss, then God help him.
Fiery eyes indeed. Yes, the culprit deserves every ounce of your loathing.
Eh?
At least, that may be some solace to the deceased.
Please, I don't. Get whoever did this. For the boss.
Oh, Gina.
I ain't feeling this useless, but there's nothing I can do. So you've gotta find who done this and make the wretch pay.
Counsel of Defense, a defendant. Court will be in session shortly. Make your way to the courtroom at once, please.
Alright then, here we go. It's time, Mr. Naruhodo. Lord Van Zeeks. One who lost his treasured brother to a mass murderer. One who lost his treasured father in a foreign court of law. And one who lost the man who helped her escape destitution. All that misfortune, all that pain, on course to collide headlong in this trial. It's time to shine a light on all these dark events. And whatever truth is revealed, we're gonna have to look at it straight in the eye. Okay then. Let's do the trial.
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are here to conduct the fair and just trial of the defendant, Baroque Van Zeeks. Counsels for the defense and prosecution, are you ready to begin?
The defense is ready, my lord. The prosecution is more than ready. Oh, Kazuma-sama. I've been wishing to see you in court again for so long, it feels. But I never pictured it happening like this. I never thought I'd be facing you behind the prosecution's bench.
The so-called Reaper of the Berry has been a scourge like no other, undermining Her Majesty's justice system. Today, we must uncover the truth behind this scourge.
In other words, this trial is gonna be a lot more far-reaching than Inspector Gregson's murder.
The truths revealed by these proceedings may have unpredictable repercussions through the judiciary. Accordingly, they are to be conducted as a closed trial with no members of the public present, by Her Majesty's direct orders.
How will that work, my lord?
The burden of all arbitration and education falls on my shoulders. Therefore, as you will see, the jurors' bench shall remain vacant today.
If no members of the public are present, might I ask who is currently occupying the gallery, my lord?
There are members of the judiciary here to witness proceedings and ensure an equitable trial.
Members of the judiciary? Oh my, this is a very unusual trial already.
There is, of course, another unprecedented aspect to these proceedings on which I must elaborate. The counsels for the prosecution and the defense are both aliens of Great Britain.
I believe it takes an outsider to see the truth sometimes. And as I stand here in this courtroom now, I am quite certain this is the reason why I had to come to Britain. Kazuma.
Very well, let us commence proceedings. Prosecutor Sogi, your opening statement, if you please.
Certainly, my lord. The incident took place on the 1st of November at just after 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The location was a building of flats on Fresno Street on the outskirts of the city. The victim's body was discovered there in an old single-room rental property.
Yes, Inspector Tobias Gregson, a name known very well indeed to this court. Not least for his miraculous resolution of one of this country's grimmest cases 10 years ago.
The Professor case. How sure are you about the time of the incident? Several witnesses on the street outside heard the gunshot, and all have reported the same time. Yeah, that's what Gina told us too. There were a number of witnesses. I have here a plan of the room. The victim was found curled up in one corner. It's believed that he was shot from the front at point-blank range and died instantly.
How has the range been determined?
There were scorch marks around the entry wound. Such marks are caused by the gunpowder used to fire the bullet. But powder hot enough to leave scorch marks is only ejected a few inches... Alright, sorry about that. Where were we? Yeah, okay, so... Powder hot enough to leave scorch marks is only ejected a few inches beyond the end of the barrel. In other words, it only happens when the target is at point-blank range.
I see, yes. Thank you for the detailed explanation, Counsel.
The murder weapon was found lying beside the victim.
And have you managed to ascertain the owner of this firearm?
No, my lord. Not conclusively. Bravo, Kazuma-sama, for not trying to use the gun as evidence when its provenance can't be proven. Furthermore, my lord, as I've explained, the revolver was fired at extremely close range. The bullet passed through the victim and struck the wall behind him. There is a candelabrum mounted on that wall, and the tip of one of the candles in it was found to have been blown off by the projectile. We noticed that too, didn't we? Yeah, that's right.
Thank you for the thorough report, Counsel. The setting of the crime is clear to me. You will submit the plan of the crime scene as evidence, please.
As you wish, my lord.
Is this Fresno Street room Inspector Gregson's private abode?
No, my lord. The room is rented to a Mr. Hugh Boone. But there is precious little furniture inside, and it is generally in a poor state of repair. So what on earth was Gregson even doing there? Presumably he was investigating some case or other. When a policeman was informed of the gunshot from the witnesses and rushed to the scene, he found only the deceased inspector and the accused standing alongside holding the revolver. The attending officer arrested the accused on the spot.
So, the details of the case are clear.
In that case, the prosecution would like to call its first witness.
A name, please, Counsel?
Naturally, the accused himself. Lord Van Zieks? As a prosecutor, he believes in the oath of office he's taken, and will be compelled to tell the truth.
Very well. Let the defendant take the witness stand.
Huh. So, witness, state your name and occupation for the court.
Barak Van Zieks, Old Bailey prosecutor.
I presume, Lord Van Zieks, that you heard Prosecutor Asogi's opening presses?
I did.
It is alleged that you are found at the scene of the crime, and that you were arrested by the arriving police officer. Can you confirm this?
Yes, my lord.
Then I'm sure the court would like to hear you explain some things away. Namely, why you were there in the room on Fresno Street at the time in question. And what exactly took place.
I intend to explain away nothing. I will simply tell the truth.
I must say, Lord Van Zieks, I never imagined this day would come. Or rather, I didn't want to imagine it would come. But since you became known as the Reaper, a part of me has been dreading it. Your formal testimony, then, witness.
I was investigating Gregson, and my inquiries had led me to that address. When I first entered the room that day, it was dark inside, and I saw no one. A moment later, I heard the gunshot. I spun around and saw the revolver on the floor. Just as I picked the firearm up to examine it, the door flew open and I heard the man scream. It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me.
Oh. That testimony was the whole truth?
It was.
So, you heard a shot being fired in a room with no living occupants, and moments later a corpse somehow appeared before your eyes. Is that it? You're right, you haven't explained away anything. In fact, that would barely qualify as an excuse.
I thought you were my mute apprentice. Yet it turns out you have a way with words, Prosecutor Asogi.
It would appear to be a singular tale indeed.
Singular isn't the word, it's laughable. What's got into Kazuma? He's not behaving like himself at all.
Very well then. Kazu, you may begin your cross-examination.
Yes, my lord. Okay then.
I was investigating Gregson, and my inquiries had led me to that address.
You were investigating the inspector. What on earth for?
I am not at liberty to say.
Sorry?
I had identified the distinct possibility that Gregson was involved in a case I was investigating. Regrettably though, he was killed before I could secure the proof I needed.
Is the court to understand then that on the day in question you followed the victim to the scene?
No, I was privy to his movements in advance.
How?
I stole into his office in the yard and consulted his diary. The address on Fresno Street was noted in the 5 p.m. entry.
You illegally entered the man's office. In Japan, that alone would constitute a very serious offense.
As it does in Great Britain, I assure you. Is that not the case, Lord Van Zieks?
I was aware of the possible consequences.
So, in summary, you were investigating the victim, and yet you refuse to tell the court why. I didn't realize British prosecutors enjoyed such freedom to choose what to divulge under oath. Ooh, why did I ever think I could defend this man?
When I first entered the room that day, it was dark inside, and I saw no one.
Had you ever been to the address before?
No, never. I only learned of the place as a result of my investigations into Gregson's activities. There was no light inside when I entered, so it was all but impossible to make out anything.
But at 5 p.m. the sun would only have just gone down. It would still have been reasonably light outside.
The room had a window, but it was boarded shut. Very little light found its way into the room from outside, so it was extremely murky inside. I wouldn't have noticed if the victim was already lying on the floor.
There was no artificial light in the room, you say? You're quite sure?
I'm quite sure that the part of the room where the body was found was very dark. I have a feeling there was a small oil lamp burning on the desk, though I couldn't say for certain.
Look, Mr. Naruhodo. There is a small desk in the room just here. Yeah, I remember. And there was an oil lamp on it, as well as the framed photograph.
When I entered the room, I closed the door behind me and started towards the desk to investigate.
And what did you find?
Nothing. I never actually reached the desk. A moment later, I heard the gunshot. I spun around and saw the revolver on the floor.
So, who fired the gun?
I have no idea. I didn't see anybody else in the room.
But you say it was very dark in there.
Yes, that's right. All I can tell you is I didn't sense another presence.
Then could it be that the gunshot actually originated from somewhere outside the room?
No, that's out of the question.
Oh,
Without doubt, the sound emanated from inside the room. I could smell the gunpowder.
oh, this is going from bad to worse. And you say that's the point at which you notice the revolver on the floor?
Correct. And I foolishly picked it up. That was careless on my part.
Presumably then the gunshot you heard came from the firearm that you somewhat hastily took in your hands.
In point of fact, my lord, I believe it did not.
What?
The barrel of the revolver I picked up was cold, and there was no smell of spent powder.
But then, where on earth is the gun that was fired?
First, I would like to oblige you with an answer. I am afraid I can't. I too would dearly like to know that.
Oh, it's from the toy, come on.
Just as I picked up the firearm up to examine it, the door flew open and I heard a man scream.
A man, you say? One of the witnesses, I presume? That's right. One of the street merchants working on Fresno Street.
Who are these merchants?
A number of them had set up their stalls directly beneath the boarded window of the crime scene. A match seller, a newsmonger, and a peddler. They've all given statements saying they heard the gunshot. And without thought of danger, they ran inside to see what had happened. Yes, Gina told us about that yesterday, didn't she? They burst through the door with some force, it would seem.
They did. It almost gave me a heart attack in the process.
But you're supposed to be the Reaper.
The first man to come in immediately noticed the revolver in my hand and fled.
A policeman patrolling on Fresno Street heard the commotion and was able to arrest the accused shortly after the incident occurred.
Anyway, the man screamed drew my attention in that direction. It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me.
What do you mean by that? In what way did the body appear?
I honestly can't explain it, but it's the truth. As far as I was concerned, the body hadn't been there until that point, and then suddenly, there it was.
Did you perhaps hear the sound of the victim falling to the ground just beforehand?
At that moment, what I heard was the sound of the door flying open and the scream of the man who came inside first. Nothing more.
I see.
After the man fled, I examined the body. I was stunned to find that it was Gregson.
Most curious circumstances indeed.
How the inspector was killed or how his body seemed to appear out of nowhere, I have no idea.
Objection!
Surely the court has heard enough. My lord, the cross-examination has clearly revealed that the accused, Barak Van Zix, is lying on multiple fronts. What is that supposed to mean?
Good gracious, Counsel. The defendant is lying, you say?
In his testimony just now, he claims that he failed to notice the victim's body because the room was dark.
That's correct.
No, that's impossible. As proven by this candelabrum. How does that prove anything? If you examine the tip of the long candle, you can see it has been blown off by a powerful impact.
One would assume that the projectile from the firearm passed through the victim and struck the candle.
The problem comes when you consider the other two candles, which are clearly of a different length.
Yes, I can see that only the candle that appears to have been struck by the bullet is long.
We could reasonably expect someone to have lit all the three candles together, which begs the question of why only one has ended up longer than the others. That must be because that particular candle was extinguished when the others were still burning. That's right. When the candle was hit by the bullet, it obviously went out. But the other two candles would still have been burning. So the fact is, the victim's body would have been illuminated by the light still thrown by the candelabrum. And the accused claim that he couldn't see the body clearly contradicts those facts. And now to the next lie. There's more? The accused also claims never to have visited the scene of the crime before.
That's the truth.
In that almost empty room, the police discovered something very unusual. A board covered from top to bottom in police documents and newspaper cuttings. Yes, that's right. We saw it too. It goes without saying that the contents of the police documents cannot be divulged. However, they included a number of reports from various historical cases, the oldest of which was from 10 years ago. 10 years ago? This is starting to sound familiar. And there is a common thread linking all of the documents on that board.
Indeed? What is this common thread, Counsel?
They all relate to cases prosecuted in court by Barak van Zieks. All of them. And furthermore, all those cases are ones in which the defendant was acquitted.
Good Lord!
Interestingly, none of those defendants are alive today, because all of them have been sent to their graves by the Reaper. Oh no. In short, that dingy little room is the Reaper's secret hideout and his base of operations. The Reaper's hideout? And yet the Reaper would claim never to have been to his own secret hideout? No one would believe that. No, the truth is, we've been looking at this backwards.
Backwards? Explain, Counsel.
Inspector Gregson was investigating the identity of the Reaper. When he discovered the location of the man's secret hideout, he was killed. As I'm sure everyone can imagine, by the Reaper's hand. What?
What?
We're off to a great start.
Order! 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 Very well. I hereby say the current opinion of the court. Barak van Zieks is an outstanding prosecutor who has rendered great service to his country. However, it is with deep regret that I must concur with Prosecutor Asogi's contention that the defendant's testimony exhibits a number of stark inconsistencies with the known facts.
All I have done is state the truth as I know it.
Kazuma's done a brilliant job as ever. He's drawing on his experience as a defense attorney to build his prosecution case, and it's formidable.
Counsel, you will submit the board that you just showed the court as evidence. I believe it to be fundamental in establishing the facts surrounding the Reaper's existence.
Thank you, my lord. And now, the prosecution would like to call new witnesses to the stand. Witnesses who saw events unfold on the day in question. They were mentioned in the previous testimony too, if you remember. Yeah, the street sellers who heard the gunshot and went running into the room.
Very well. Lead the witnesses in. The defendant may step down from the witness stand.
Certainly, my lord.
So, witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court.
Names? We don't need names. Far too fancy for lots of us.
We're just free and easy. Sell what we like, live where we want to live.
I give them all a vacant stare as I walk down Fresno and spin a few words into a verse for them.
Ah. Would I be right in assuming that all three of you make your living by selling wares on the street?
Everyone calls me Gregson. I sell dainty little things for passers-by, you know.
Jaunty little tidbits.
Got an absolute smasher for you, sir. Right up your gizzard it is. 6 pence is the price, and not a penny less.
Wait, you're actually trying to sell it to me now?
Oh, come on, sir. Don't tell me you're not interested.
Try the man. Give him the money and see what it is.
Pay the man, Kansu.
Alright. 6 pence it is.
You won't regret it, sir. Now, got your listening ears on? That's between us. A young couple on Slot Street have just had twins.
Is that it?
No, that's not it. It's gossip, innit? It wants to spread. But that bit's up to you and your mouth, of course. I've got more, you know. What another juicy one. 6 pence a piece it is, if you're curious.
I am curious, yes, about what's going on just under that fat bottom lip of yours. Namely, that unusual bruise on, or whatever it is, that's poking out from under your collar. What about the next witness, then? What name do you go by, and what do you sell?
Me? I'm Venus. That's what everyone calls me. Funny, innit? I sell those lovely little fireworks to all the local school kids. 6 pence a pop. What do you say?
You weren't exaggerating with little. Do they actually sell?
Oh yeah, the second years can't get enough of my Venus firecrackers. Especially when I tell them that if they get 100, they could blow up the school. Not the most savoury of ideas, young lady. What do you say then, eh? Want a port with 6 pence a pop?
Wait, what? You want me to buy one?
Tell you what, I'll let you in on a little secret. If you get 100 of them, you could blow up the whole courtroom.
Try the woman. Give her the money and see if she's right.
Pay the woman, Kansu.
Alright, I'll buy one.
Lovely stuff. Right, and this is something a bit extra just for you. The Venus Special. Only 600 pence.
600?
It's 100 of my regular fireworks. Nothing little about that, is there?
And there'd be nothing little about the punishment if I blew up the Old Bailey either. What? I don't want that. And the last witness, what name do you go by and what do you sell?
I'm the thinker, me. Think all sorts of thoughts. I think, therefore I am. I am, therefore I think. I think. Because I stand there on the street, watching the world go on about me. They call me the observator.
Get out of it, old man. Everyone calls me Sandwich, and you know it.
So, you don't actually sell anything?
Problem shared is a problem halved, as they say. I give advice, I do, and think what it means. I don't actually sell anything, no, come to think of it.
Pity. No more purchases today, please.
Well, we have quite a cost here, it seems.
They conduct their business on Fresno Street from morning until night, my lord, and always in the same place, directly adjacent to the crime scene.
I see, and thus they heard the gunshot, I suppose.
Not only that, but they very bravely ran inside to see what was going on and witnessed the crime.
We'll all be buggered then.
What?
We'll all be begard, I thought. Just between us.
Venus de Milo, what am I to do? What a terrible thing I saw.
Well, what I think is, if all what we see is light and shadow, playing with our eyes, is any of it real? Very well. The court will hear the formal testimony of these 3 witnesses now. You will describe in detail what you witnessed and heard at the time of the incident.
We saw the whole thing from start to finish, we did. Everything from the moment they went in the building.
It was less than a minute after the Reaper had gone inside that we all heard a big bang.
It seems to me that quick to talk is quick to walk. Gossip couldn't wait to go and see what happened.
I ran into the room and there it was. The Reaper, gun in hand, standing over the dead body.
I was scared after death, me, so I ran off to find a copper. If these witnesses were there the whole day and saw everything, who did they see going inside the building? Only the victim, Inspector Gregson, and the accused, Barak Van Zieks.
I've seen pictures of the Reaper in the paper. I know what he looks like. And just between us, folk love stories like this. I'll make myself a tortoise some already.
But wait, the room is just one of several flats in the building. Someone from another flat could have done it. All those flats on Fresno Street are unoccupied.
Course they are. They're small, damp, dirty, and expensive to boot.
The room in which the inspector was found is the only property in the building that's currently leased. And we know the leaseholder's name, don't we? It's Hugh Boone.
The testimony the court has just heard would appear to leave little room for doubt. It's becoming increasingly difficult to see how anyone other than the defendant could have committed the crime.
No! Thank you for your candor, my lord.
Counsel for the defense, you may proceed to cross-examine the witnesses.
Yes, my lord. In a closed court like this without a jury, the judge is the only person whose opinion matters. I have to break down this testimony somehow.
Whew, alright.
Should be easy enough, right? Alright, age 45, coroner Maria Gorey. Huh. Why is the time of death not here? Is that a game error or is that an actual error? A story error? Shot in the chest is at close range from the front, resulting in instant death. Scorch marks at point of entry. The bullet exited the body from behind. The caliber of the gun used matches that of standard issue firearms for members of the judiciary. I have a theory that seems a little ridiculous, but I wanna tell everyone what it is before it is either confirmed or denied, just so I can say I told you so. There's been a lot of parallels between these cases and the cases of the Ace Attorney trilogy. And it seems that Lord Strongheart is the British Victorian version of Damon Gant. So I'm assuming that the Reaper is actually Strongheart. That's how the gun is something that the members of the judiciary carry. It wasn't Van Zieks, it was Strongheart. That's just a theory, though. That's just my little theory. Oh, what's this? Mr. Naruhodo, look! Oh yeah, it's a smudge of some kind. In fact, It looks just like a handprint. And the color... That's blood, isn't it? Oh dear, how disturbing. Interesting. Where did that come from, huh? Interesting. There are details of a whole raft of cases dating back years on here, aren't there? This paper from 10 years ago is browning with age, look. Out of interest, the most recent thing appears to be this newspaper cutting here. Oh, it's the same Red-Headed League advertisement that Mr. Sholmes had picked out. And do you remember, there was a red hair piece at the scene too? Was Inspector Gregson an exponent of the Red-Headed League then? Was he the member that died recently? No, that can't be that. I don't know. Maybe not. Alright. These are loud enough to be... Oh, these are loud enough to be a gunshot wound. A gunshot sound. So maybe Gregson was dead already. That's why the time of death couldn't be decided. He was dead long before Van Zieks came in. And when Van Zieks came in, the street vendor saw him. And the killer was inside. He let off a bang. And then waited for the witnesses to arrive. And when that happened, he dumped Gregson's corpse and then hid inside. Or something. Have you had an idea, Mr. Naruhodo? You're staring at the end of this string of fireworks. Sorry, it's just that it's the Venus special. I was wondering what 600 pence worth of fireworks would sound like. Shall we find out? What? But she said it could blow up the courtroom. Alright, that was a fairly sizable bang. My ears are still ringing, Mr. Naruhodo. It sounded almost exactly like... Yep. Now we're putting all the pieces together. Yep. Alright. Anyway.
We saw the whole thing from start to finish, we did. Everything from the moment they were in the building.
When you say they, who do you mean exactly? Inspector Gregson and the defendant, Lord Van Zieks?
I suppose so. Lots of us don't know the names of the Iron Mighty. But I'll tell you one thing. It was the old Reaper that went in last. That's for sure and certain.
Just behind Inspector Gregson. Did they arrive at the same time as each other?
No, not at all. The first fella must have gone inside a good 15 minutes before we heard the gunshot.
The victim arrived 15 minutes before. Are you sure about that?
Am I sure? Am I sure? Doesn't seem likely that I've forgotten a fella with bright red hair like that, does it?
Yeah, his hair really were red, weren't it? Redder than my flaming fireworks, even.
Well, that fire red mope's still burned on the inside of my eyelids, it is.
Wait a minute. You're saying the man was a redhead?
Weren't you listening, chum? Ah, he was a redhead, and he had a big trunk with him as well.
But Inspector Gregson's hair isn't red. Not by any stretch of the imagination. It seems likely that the person you saw wasn't in fact Inspector Gregson at all, but some other third party. No, I hate to break it to you, but the witnesses are correct.
What?
Just have a look at this photograph of the victim taken at the scene. Yeah, that's Inspector Gregson, alright. And a red hairpiece. Of course, we saw one on the floor when we investigated the scene, didn't we? I still refuse to believe Inspector Gregson wore a hairpiece, though. So then why on earth would he have been wearing something like that?
The color does seem to suit the man, one might say. The photograph will be submitted as evidence, please, Counsel.
And what became of the trunk that the red-headed victim was supposedly carrying? I was informed that no trunk was found at the scene, so it just disappeared.
What? Do you expect us to have been watching the building every second, do you?
We definitely saw him in the dock going in, though. No question about that. It was less than a minute after the Reaper had gone inside that we all heard a big bang.
By which presumably you mean the gunshot.
I sell these little things, don't I? How would I know what a gunshot sounds like? But I've always thought it probably sounds a bit like this, doesn't it?
And you say that you heard the noise almost as soon as you saw the defendant here enter the building.
That's right. It was almost straight away. Bang, it went. Just like that.
Well, he's the Reaper, isn't he? It's what the French call a fait accompli. When the Reaper's around, people are going to the ground. I mean, that's what he does, isn't it?
I think we get the message. The Reaper couldn't allow this inspector to live after he discovered his secret hideout. There can be no clearer motive for the crime.
Yes. It's certainly an eminently credible motive.
Great. And at that point you ran inside, is that correct?
Seems to me that quick to talk is quick to walk. Gossip couldn't wait to go and see what had happened.
So when Gossip ran to see what happened, did you go too?
Well, me, I'm a bit hampered, see. All signs are that I can't move very well.
You were way behind, presumably, with that sandwich board around your neck and that big sign in your hand. What a great burden you bear. Pardon me for asking, Mr. Sandwich, but is it possible you and I have met before?
I'm not anybody, me. The signs are what makes me who I am. I sign, therefore I am.
So you weren't employed as an omnibus driver just under a year ago, then? I might be mistaken, but I believe his trembling has intensified, Mr. Naruhodo. Yeah, I agree. He's clearly been through a lot.
Turn down King Henry Street and the Black Widower's Arms is just there.
Oh dear, you have made him hide behind his sign. Life is full of surprises.
I ran into the room and there he was, the Reaper, gun in hand, standing over the dead body.
So then you were the first person to arrive on the scene. Is that right?
That I was. Kicked the door open like a professional, I did, and yelled out, "What's going on here?"
Lord Van Zeek's claim all he heard was a man's scream, though. And was it dark inside the room?
No, not dark at all. There were candles burning on the wall.
Really?
And there was a fella collapsed on the floor. Just between us, it's the first thing I noticed when I got inside.
Ah, I see. Even though Lord Van Zeeks claims not to have seen any such lights on the wall.
The next thing I noticed was someone standing right beside the body.
The accused, Baron Van Zeeks.
That's right, the pale-faced Reaper himself. I was a little shocked, I won't deny it, but I'm no lily-livered coward. I stood my ground and gave that Reaper a cold hard stare myself.
Excuse me.
Do you have something to add, Mr. Sandwich?
There's really nothing to me. Empty in the head I am. Just 2 slices with no middle. So I don't know what you could want with me.
I think that maybe you just remembered something. Having heard Mr. Gossip's last statement, I mean.
What I think is, we're all nothings, really. We try to dress ourselves up as something else, but at the end of the day, we're all just street sellers.
That's enough out of you, Sandwich. Keep your trap shut now. Unless you want us to make you into a real sandwich.
When he saw the Reaper, he fell clear over on his backside.
That's it?
Oh, you rotten bagger! I told you to keep that secret.
He screamed, he did. Screamed and scrambled off on all fours. That's all I wanted to say.
Mr. Gossip, is this true?
The floor was dead slippery, that's why. Planted my head in a filthy pool of blood, didn't I? Yuck.
What? A pool of blood?
But listen here, even when I was sprawled on the floor, I still kept giving that old Reaper a cold hard stare, and don't you forget it.
Let's just go back a little. Did you say you got blood in your hand?
I did, happens to the best of us at times, doesn't it? So I was scared, so I slipped over. We can keep it just between us, can't we?
No, Mr. Gossip. I'm gonna have to ask you to add that information to your formal testimony.
Oh, if I must.
The witness will amend his testimony to include the aforementioned details at once.
I slipped over and got blood on my hand, so I quickly wiped it off on the floor.
You wiped your hand on the floor.
Well, who wants blood on his hands, eh? Terrible stuff. And they might have thought I'd done it. No talk.
And you didn't think that might be a problem?
Doesn't really matter if I've left a few grabby handprints on the floor. They'll get clean up in the end, won't they? Don't make such a fuss. That's a message from all of us.
Is something wrong, Kazu?
No, my lord. I didn't remember anything in the report about a bloody handprint on the floor, that's all.
Don't come at me with all that. You can't intimidate me. I know what I did. I wiped it off on the floor. The blood.
I wonder, could that be what happened? Mr. Naruhodo, I don't have all the answers yet, but I think we may have just uncovered a vital clue. I was scared after death, me, so I ran off to find a copper. So you didn't run into the room with your friends? I'm not that sort of girl. Sorry? I'm a timid little thing, me. I was too scared to go in there. Ah, right. I see. Old Lippy and the witch ran in there, and then I heard a sort of old lady scream.
Well, that wasn't me, I swear. If I were a gentleman, I'd save my honor on it.
I wondered what on earth was going on. Which is when you went to find a policeman. And I ran into a cop as soon as I turned the corner. So I brought him straight back to the place. Didn't I do well, eh?
Just between us, that copper's eyes nearly popped out of his head when he saw the Reaper.
I've never felt more uncomfortable in all of my life. And the defendant was arrested on the spot, I believe.
Considering the catalogue of killings the Reaper had carried out, it was a particularly inauspicious end. If I can't find any holes in this testimony, I am afraid the judge will give a ruling of guilty, Mr. Naruhodo. The truth is, though, their combined testimony is fairly damning. Unfortunately, there don't seem to be any obvious problems with their statements, do there? Still, if Lord Van Zeeks really is innocent, then I'm almost certain that we'll find something in there that doesn't quite add up. You don't think that one of these three could be the true culprit, do you? I don't know, but what I do know is that there's more to this case than has yet to be brought to light. Alright.
Objection!
So you wiped off the blood from your hand on the floor of the room. Are you quite sure about that?
Well, what else do you expect me to have done, eh? Does it really matter?
The police found no such handprint on the floor during their investigations. What exactly is the defense asserting? If you listen, you'll find out, Prosecutor Asogi. Certainly, there was no bloody handprint found on the floor. What are you trying to say? There was a handprint and blood left very clearly at the scene. On the back of this notice board.
Ah, yes, indeed. Indisputably a handprint in the distinctive color of blood.
You dead right. That's my right hand. I'd know it anywhere.
Objection!
The witness very definitely testified that he wiped his hand on the floor. Any handprints on the back of the board are irrelevant.
Objection!
Not if the board itself had fallen over onto the floor. In that case, it's quite possible for the witness's handprint to have ended up there. Just look at the floor plan of the room. The notice board was in the opposite corner of the room to the victim, and in an upright position. Even if it had somehow been toppled and was lying on the floor at the time, it would have been a considerable distance from the body.
I fell over when I came across the body, so I was basically right next to the corpse, not on the other side of the room.
In other words, the defense's assertion is contradictory. Yes, it is. There's a very definite contradiction here, for which there must be a reason.
I take it that you have formulated a proper hypothesis, counsel? Regarding this apparent discrepancy between the witness's account and the handprint found at the scene?
I have, my lord. This discrepancy between the witness's account and the location of the handprint is explained by... The witness claims to have wiped his bloody hand on the floor, yet no sign of that remains at the scene. The simplest explanation is that the witness is lying. Just because it's the simplest explanation doesn't make it the correct one. Runosuke Naruhodo. Positing perjury simply because it suits you. You bring shame on your Japanese heritage.
I would ask you not to oversimplify matters again, counsel.
I don't remember fostering that kind of simplistic thinking in you. Since when were you my father? Anyway, I was always taught to consider all possibilities. Then show me. There should be a bloody handprint on the floor. So where did it go? I'm ready to give the proper explanation to the court now, my lord.
I take it that you have formulated a proper hypothesis, again, regarding this apparent discrepancy between the witness's account and the handprint found at the scene?
I have, my lord. This discrepancy between the witness's account and the location of the handprint is explained by... The real contradiction here is the handprint itself, not where it was found. As the court can see, it's upside down.
Good gracious, so it is. If the witness had put his hand against the board, their fingers should be pointing upwards.
What does that tell us? It tells us one simple fact. When this handprint was made, the board must have been lying on the floor as I previously suggested. Which means that after the incident, it must have been moved. What?
Objection!
You're claiming that somebody moved the notice board after the shooting? Then tell the court who. I don't know that yet, but the point is, when you consider all the testimony we've heard so far, we can now be very clear on one point.
And that would be?
The position of the notice board at the time of the incident, my lord.
So, counsel, I must ask you to clarify your assertion for the court.
That
the time of the incident, where do you maintain the notice board was situated?
Take that!
It was right here, my lord.
Goodness! No, I'm afraid I don't quite see your logic.
I'm disappointed, Renosuke. In Japan, we are taught to have patience and respect for our elders. So until his lordship sees your logic, you will know your place and not move from that spot.
Oh!
How brilliant of Kazuma-sama. That almost sounded unreasonable at first, but he was just thinking of you. Unreasonable? Try unfathomable. Anyway, I think I have the answer now. I know my place. Or rather, I know the board's place.
So, Counsel, I must ask you to clarify your assertion for the court. At the time of the incident, where do you maintain the notice board was situated?
Alright, let's take another look here. If this is the corpse, this is the candles. Does that mean that... Oh, is this the... No, this is not the entrance. Where's the entrance? They're saying that... Yeah. I don't... I'm thinking it was right at the entrance, right? He opened the door and slipped on the blood that was on... or something. Alright, hold on. I'm not gonna get another strike for this. Let me just double check. I don't know what they want from me exactly. My theory is that when he opened the door, he slipped on the board or something. And then when he slipped on some blood. And then the blood... I don't know. Okay. Okay, I think I get it. They're saying that the board must have been somewhere here? This is the only possible location. Okay. Sure, why not?
Immediately adjacent to the doorway?
If the court would think back to the testimony given by the defendant earlier, he said that when he entered the room, it was dark. He couldn't see the body. If the notice board had been here, the body would have been completely hidden from view, and the light from the candles would have been blocked, making the room appear darker.
Objection.
But the accused also claims that the victim's body simply appeared before him. That's true. Or, in his precise words...
Just as I picked up the firearm to examine it, the door flew open and I heard the man scream. It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me.
I don't...
I don't know about calling it a scream, but it was talking about me and no mistake. Cause it was me that kicked the door open.
If you look again at the floor plan, consider what would happen if the door to the room was thrown open with force. That can't... The door struck the notice board, knocking it over, and making the victim's body visible.
Good gracious!
My client has told nothing but the truth. He has simply described what he saw.
Order! Order! Counsel, how has this not come to light before now?
After the incident, somebody must have righted the board and moved it into the position where the police, myself, and my colleagues saw it when investigating the room.
Witness, what have you to say for yourself?
Well, me, my lord.
You and your fellows were there at the scene before anybody else. It goes without saying that you must know something about the position of the notice board.
The witnesses in the stand will testify again. You will each explain exactly what you did upon arriving at the scene of the crime.
Hey, stop looking over your glasses at me. I'll get the message. I don't know anything about that notice board. I'll just wipe my hand on it, that's all.
Well, don't look at me. I haven't got a clue about it. I was doing business with some second years at the time. I don't know anything about anything. I'm just a bystander, me. Just a sign at the crossroads of life.
It was the Reaper, I bet. He's got a face that screams bold.
I can't see how this changes anything anyway. The detective still died when we heard the gunshot. So none of you can elaborate further.
Shaken by the crime they witnessed, and with only the light of a few candles and an oil lamp by which to see, we can't expect these witnesses to be able to give a more precise account of what happened.
That's right, yeah. It don't pay to expect too much. This man's endless quest for knowledge that's destroying the world. That's what I think.
Do you? Really? In any case, as this testimony shows, even if the notice board was moved by somebody following the incident, it makes no difference. When the gunshot rang out, the accused was the only person at the scene. In short, the only person who could possibly have committed this crime is Barak Van Zieks. None of this wrangling over the board changes that simple fact.
Quite so, quite so. Does the defense still wish to cross-examine the witnesses despite the circumstances?
Most certainly, my lord.
Very well. Then you may proceed, counsel.